the People's Podcast, where we answer all of your questions. And as always, you can hit us up on social media to send those questions through on a Tuesday morning is best, and we'll answer them for you. But also, you can drop your questions or your comments in the feedback on YouTube, so you can do that. Or, Scully, people on Patreon, we will prioritise their questions if they are a patron of this podcast.
Yes, that is correct. Guaranteed answering of questions. So I make the statement regularly that there hasn't been a question asked in my life I couldn't answer. So you want to challenge me on that? You go for it. And if you're a patron, I guarantee it.
You'll still answer it. You make something up at least.
It doesn't have to be a correct answer. It's just the answer of it. No, I'm serious. Why do you have to? You don't have to be correct every time you speak.
No, that's true.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think I am.
It'll give you something, and
correct.
That's all you're asking for.
So become a patron. BackChatPodcast.com.au. Sign up on Patreon.
All right, you want to kick us off?
I sure do. We've had a couple of lads come through on the BackChat feed. So thank you, Luke and Scott. Luke asks, should the rules of the Brownlow be changed to no longer have players who have been suspended be ineligible? When the rules brought in, you could basically only get suspended for punching someone or laying them out with a really poor action. These days, players can get rubbed out for a football action gone slightly wrong. If someone like Paul Curtis won the Brownlow even after missing a few weeks, would we want to see it taken from him? What do you think?
I actually agree with this. I think the threshold for suspension has become so low now that it opens it up to that type of thing. So I think if you do anything intentional or anything over a set amount of weeks, then you should be ineligible for the Brownlow. But if it's like 1 or 2 weeks, not that the Curtis thing would fall into that. It would still be a footy action, though, in that instance.
Old school people would say, well, it's not the best and fairest, then it's just the best.
Yeah, correct. But I think things have changed a lot from when it was titled as the best and fairest.
Yes.
And if you get a suspension for being unfair, then you shouldn't be.
Yes.
But if it's just part of footy that happens, if it's a footballing action, like if you bump someone,
yes,
that's maybe a little bit grey. Like, is that a footy action these days? Yes, no. If it's a collision, I'm not sure.
Oh,
but
I think players have lost Brownlows in the past for those, so I don't think you can take out bumps.
No, I think maybe if it's like a one week suspension, you're still eligible. Anything over 3, maybe 2 is okay too. I don't know. What do you reckon? There's got to be somewhere we can
above 1, mate. Like if you get 2 weeks, like it's still you've done something decent and bad for 2 weeks.
But
and so Paul Curtis,
that's the example.
Well, it wasn't 0 weeks, was it?
No, it was 3 in the end.
Yes, I know. So yeah, they're still the rules of the game. I think 1 week would just take away any sort of wishy-washy ones.
Yeah.
I reckon if Paul Curtis did what he did right now, he'd be 2 or under.
Yeah.
I reckon they've changed. Yeah. I reckon they've changed the way they looked at it because of outcry.
That's probably a hard one to judge because I think the industry as a whole thought that was too much.
Yes.
And unfortunately for him, he ends up getting the suspension, but that might be re-looked at.
It's almost like action over outcomes actually a thing. What do you think old mate will get, Tom Lynch?
It should be 5 to 6.
What do you think he'll get?
5.
Yep. I think he'll get that as well. I think he'll get 5.
If he'd made more contact, it would be more.
Hammer said on BackChat yesterday that he thinks it'll be 8. Hall was 5, Vickery was 6, Gaff was 7, and he thinks this is in line with those, and this will be 8.
Hall only 5.
Apparently. Could be
I remember that one. He was able to plead guilty and got it reduced, and that got changed.
Imagine if he pled not guilty.
But the rules back then, you got an automatic discount,
which is ridiculous.
Which they changed since then.
I'm guilty of punching someone in the head.
I know your action and outcome, but the outcome in terms of the injury wasn't as severe as some of those other ones in this instance.
Action, mate.
I know. I agree. On the action, it should be at least 6.
From Scott on Patreon, what are your thoughts on the insufficient intent rule? I feel if the ball has moved forward towards your own offensive 50 or goal, then by definition there was intent to keep it in play. I think it's overused and should be only called on the most blatant of outs and, let's be honest, obvious ones when they're done. You can take this one, mate.
I thought Razor Ray explained it pretty well on AFL 360 about the cues that the umpires are actually looking for.
Right.
So if the kick goes straight down the ground and is in the field of play but then breaks at a wrong angle and goes out of play, the player can't be held responsible for that. So they don't pay that as insufficient intent, which is what happened, they reckon, with that one in the Gold Coast a couple of weeks ago.
But
But if you kick it
But they
towards
do,
the
though.
boundary
They
line,
do pay it.
if you
They might
kick
not
it
want to, but they do.
towards the boundary line and it keeps rolling and it stays on that line, then that's paid as insufficient intent. Going inside 50, you're kicking inside 50, then I don't want to see that paid as insufficient intent.
To break down raise, that doesn't make any sense. So you're telling me if I kick a, you know how ball works, right?
Yeah.
If I kick a straight snap, but it's spinning snap wise, but it goes straight.
Yeah.
Right. Or a banana, either one. If you kick it straight, once it hits the ground, it's going left or right.
Yep.
You're telling me that's not going to be called because it changes its direction. That's a lie. That's a blatant lie.
Well, I don't know about snap. In the instance he was talking about was a drop punt going long down the line, and he was talking more about those going long down the line, and then once it bounces and rolls and
this
goes
is the
up
issue though, mate. It's just like
so. Would it be clearer if it was inside 50?
get last touch.
Inside 50.
Do exactly what the AFLW.
But not inside 50.
Yeah, correct.
So
that's what AFLW.
between the arcs.
Yeah, between the arcs, last touch. Between 50s, no deliberate.
Not last touch, last possession.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is a slight
possession.
difference. Kick or a handball goes out of play. Yeah.
That's fixed. And Scott also asked about Dom Sheed, which he just said, "Can you speak about Dom Sheed?" I mean, I feel like we covered that.
Yep, in the main show this week. Sid on email actually got involved with this as well. Sid, very loyal listener of the show.
Hello at backchatpodcast.com.au.
I did not know that. G'day, Scully and Paps, says Sid. On the back of Jeremy McGovern retiring from playing footy, do you think it has given the West Coast Eagles players a new outlook on competing? From the eye test, something feels different with this group after that last game. Cheers. Always look forward to the pod every week.
Thanks, Sid. To answer your question, no, I don't think it should. Although when you've got great players like a Jeremy McGovern and Dom Sheed and great leaders in both of those players retiring, it does make you start to look around and take some more responsibility for your own presence within the room, I think. We recorded this a little bit later on, so I went and saw Dom Sheed retire to the boys, didn't I?
You did?
Okay, great. And he spoke about that inside the four walls was, don't take for granted the amount of people that are here to help you, but in the end, it is your own responsibility to get the most out of your own career. And when you start hearing that from some of the better players that have played before you, I went through that with Darren Glass and Beau Waters and everyone, Dean Cox, all these guys that I saw retire, and you hear them speak about that. And I think at a point as a young player, you start to go, maybe I get it a bit more. Because for a large part of your early years at the football club, you literally don't get it. You don't understand what you're there for. You're just there to play footy. And at some point, the penny drops. For some people, it's dropped day one. And you can see those. Nick Dacos is probably a guy that dropped day one. And probably was bred to be like that around his family and that ongoing. But some guys, it doesn't drop. Saw again heavy criticism of Harley Reid. Now, I'm not saying the penny hasn't dropped there, but he's clearly different to a Nick Dacos. And the comparisons made with him and Nick Dacos, it does my absolute head in. And the criticism and the analysis of Harley Reid's game, why are we not doing that for anyone else his age? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I won't buy into how his game's going on. In fact, and I know no one will really care. I'm a small podcaster out of Western Australia, but I'm not commenting on his game anymore. It's just a joke that gets wheeled out every month. It's embarrassing.
Players, you fired up about that one.
Oh, it pisses me off, mate. Like I saw Dane Zorko spoke about it.
Yep.
He was on a panel talking about it.
Yep.
He's a current player at a current club, and he's a leader, and he's just won a premiership. And he goes, I don't understand it. Well, that to me is the opinion. That's a real one because it's what's happening at football clubs around the league. Spoke about Cam Rayner being in the same position, number one draft pick.
Yep.
During Cam Rayner what was he doing in his second year? Stuff all.
Yep.
But that's all right. You got to figure it out, and you don't know until you know. And I don't know how I got here, but
you
fired up
definitely
about
had something you want to get off your chest.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, and I think the part you touched on is players come from all different backgrounds in terms of that. Knowing the level you need to get to, and as a young player, it takes a few seasons generally for 99% of those that might not have had that education at home. Like if you're coming from a family that's been part of the system before,
Yep.
you're miles ahead. Or if you've gone to the right school and you get more advantages there, not the right school, but if you go to a school that gives you more advantages to get to that point, you're at a much better advantage than some other people.
You've heard the saying that once you walk in the door, the draft pick doesn't matter. That's true.
Yep.
No one cares Harley Reid was the number 1 draft pick. It doesn't mean anything the day you get to a football club. And it shouldn't mean anything to anyone outside of it as well. Because once you're in, you're just like everyone else. So you either perform or you don't. I don't think that we should be holding a 19-year-old to higher standards than anyone else other than himself. So as soon as that starts happening, whether it's Harley Reid or someone else, I would call this out with any other player too. And frustrated continuing to see that sort of behaviour.
Scully did say before that if you ask him a question, he will answer it. The answer might go a bit off what the question actually was, but we did get an answer.
You can get an answer from no question either.
Well done, Sid. Thanks for setting that. You sparked some good debate and discussion. A few to follow up from last week. We were talking about the fixturing and the buys and the right way to go about it. Derek says the AFL used to have all but 2 buys in 1 week and then have Sydney and Collingwood only that weekend. They could all teams have buys except the New South Wales and Queensland teams on 1 week, and then have the derbies that week,
like the Battle of the Bridge and the
Sunshine Stoush.
Excuse me,
the Sunshine Stoush.
That's like the thing on your top lip. The Q Clash.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So it's a mini Queensland, New South Wales gather.
I'm not going to be able to get as much passion out of this stuff, mate, because I'm fine with the buys. I don't have a big issue. I'm not going to pretend I do either.
Paolo says opening round is dumb.
I disagree because Paolo, you can have no round. You can have round 0 or no round because that's the alternative. So you can have no round of footy. No worries. Is that what you want? There you go. That's the passion.
Yeah, you can have opening round, but just do it a bit differently. And Brad says, why have buys full stop? You never answered my question last week. We must have got off topic.
Sorry, Brad, I don't know how we got there.
If, as you said, there are 29 weeks, then you get to play 12 teams out of 18 twice, so closer to more fairer fixturing.
Well, it's not 29 weeks.
Manage your list simple or make them slightly bigger.
It's not 29 weeks. It's 24 weeks
plus
finals. Yes, you don't get to play 12 teams.
But could you, instead of having a bye round, play an extra round, and you just have to manage your team through, and you give breaks to your players on the way through. So rather than having a whole round off for the whole club, you find a spot to manage your players through and give them a break.
Yeah, but and you could just, yes, you could.
Yeah, I think it's in the CBA though at the moment, isn't it?
Something to do with that.
Get a bye.
Which, they would argue the games are too long. It's too taxing.
So part of that went into the debate about state of origin and whether we could make it work and whether we could get it going. And Trent says there's an easy option for WA v Victoria. Move the bye before the finals to after prelim finals so the players are rested for the Grandy, and on that weekend play state of origin like the NFL do the weekend before.
You've heard me say that multiple times. That's why I think it could exist, but I'm moving my chips out of that because I've spoken to 2 players who played in the proper rivalries, like WA Victoria, when it was Waffle v VFL. And it was like us versus them, pulling the West Australians back from Victoria to play together. It meant something. It would mean nothing to players. Not one player out there right now in the AFL would care. They don't care. They'll care about money.
Yeah.
But that's not for any of us. That's just for them.
The only thing would be that all the teams that don't play in the finals, you're then sitting around for a month before coming back to play an Origin game. I doubt that would be of interest to those players, would it? To keep ready and not have your break?
Probably. You in your break, it doesn't mean you can't do anything though.
Yeah.
You don't like a break isn't sitting with your feet up on the couch. You're still training.
Yeah.
You might have 10 days off and then you're just training again.
Yeah.
You're just not at the club.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be fine.
You could still figure that out.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
B-Dub says, State of Origin won't be in the middle of the season for at least the next 10 years. Forget about it. Just baby steps are needed with State of Origin every couple of years pre-season and see if it can survive.
Queensland and New South Wales in the rugby league has genuine rivalry. They're the only 2 states in that competition. So they're genuine rivalry. This doesn't exist here.
We're trying
to make something out of nothing.
Bring it back. We're talking about Patrick Cripps last week, and a few people floating that he should go to the Eagles for a variety of different reasons, both with Carlton looking to move people on and refresh their list as well.
Yes.
This one from Mark says Patrick Cripps to West Coast is absolutely the single most stupid thing ever uttered in human history. If Cripper decided Carlton are going to continue to be a basket case and was looking elsewhere, surely he would be seeking team success like a Brian Lake or James Frawley going to Hawthorn for a premiership success. West Coast are garbage and he doesn't need the cash, the adulation. He wants team success. And if he chose to move, it would only be to a team with a chance of winning faster than Carlton, and probably the only club that isn't is West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty succinct and probably on the money, if I can use on the money, because he's not chasing the cash. You'd have to think that he's motivated by winning or a legacy. So if he's motivated by a legacy and thinks that he can win at Carlton along with that, I think he'll be fine. But yeah, it's a good point. I don't think he'd be moving for cash or homesickness, because those things go away pretty quickly.
Stigma says we, as in West Coast, should be chasing the Bont. $2 million a year for 3 years. Captain, best player and leader in the comp. Better idea than Cripps. We need a leader. Gives Harley a mentor as well. Wouldn't it be nice to have West Coast as a starting midfield of Bontempelli, Patrick Cripps,
Cripps as well.
Harley Reid. They've got the cash. Just make it happen, Don Pike.
So they want Cripps and Bontempelli?
Yeah, seems like it.
Well, that's not going to happen. You could take out Cripps' name and you could put Elijah Hewitt, Harley Reid, Bontempelli. Any midfield with Bontempelli at the top is a good one. Look, that was just murmurs, wasn't it? I mean, that wasn't anywhere near real.
I don't think so. It's been thrown around a few other places this week too.
Right.
After Carlton have struggled and saying that the Blues need to completely freshen things up.
I mean, the only thing different with those two players, other than the Brownlow, but like one's a premiership player and one's not. So Bont may feel fulfilled at the Bulldogs, whereas Cripper would not.
Having already won that flag. Justin says Cripps to West Coast. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't agree to that. For West Coast, it would just be another mistake like Tim Kelly. Another one says it's the same as being overpriced, not worth anything, not going to win a premiership with the Eagles. Just going for dollars. Why would you?
Yeah, maybe, but you got to make moves. I think different types have done that. I'll take Jono's question if that's okay, because I like this.
I almost deleted it out.
No, I saw it. I would have. I've got the sheet too. Jono asks, and this is a very important question: how long has Paps been sitting on dropping the Creed lyrics into Freo game on Sunday? Now, I can only imagine if I didn't pick it up next year. Can you take me higher? Is that what you...
No, it wasn't actually.
Can you give me the song?
Because when I like to drop subtle things in, I just do it pretty deadpan and just go for it. But a few people hit me up afterwards.
Was it a centre bounce?
Very last centre bounce.
Yeah.
Very last centre bounce. So
right.
people can go back.
Can you give me a clue?
If they want to.
No, give me a clue. Nah, we're doing it now. What was it? Well, give me a clue.
Well,
I'm a big Creed fan.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I love Creed.
And so you didn't even pick up on it when I said it?
That's all. Yeah,
that's why I like the subtlety of it.
When I'm feeling a bit like, just lacking a bit of motivation or a bit of, I just need a bit of something, I put Creed on as loud as possible in the car.
Really?
Mate, I'm not joking.
And you didn't pick up on it?
Give me a clue.
All right. I need someone to go and edit the commentary over the music of it, just for fun.
If only we had a production house could do that.
I can't believe you didn't pick up on it. So it was the very last centre bounce, and I've been sitting on it for a little while.
Sometimes I don't listen to you. Just so
yeah, I'm very well aware. I'm very well aware. And I had a joke with one of my mates a while ago about trying to sneak some lyrics into one of the calls, and it was the last bounce. And
don't tell me what it was. I want a clue.
6 points.
6 feet from the edge.
Yes.
And I'm thinking.
So I just dropped that in.
Maybe 6 feet aren't so far down.
So
do you like the fact that I knew every word?
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, I'm a Creed fan.
They're good. All right.
So what did you say?
I said Freo are trying to hold on now. They're 6 points from the edge, and the Saints are thinking that ain't so far down.
Oh my God!
And you didn't pick up on it.
I was on the stat and I was trying to say, you're kidding me. Yeah. Did you? You know that if I heard that, that's what I would have done.
I was waiting for someone in the box to give me.
Pav wouldn't have.
No, I'm joking.
Mate,
I just like to sneak some stuff in and see if anyone picks it up.
If I heard that, it could have ruined the day because I would have just been like, "Holy shit! Creed has entered the box."
So this is just, I guess, a little insight into my brain and how I like to entertain myself. Just I try to get stuff in. And yes, I'd been sitting on it for a little while, just waiting for that right moment where there was a 6 point margin and a team was trying to come back.
I'll tell you right now,
And
this will be getting clipped up in the next 20 minutes.
I should have done it 2 weeks earlier against North, and I forgot. And then the situation presented itself again 2 weeks later.
Brilliant.
But that's the things I sit around doing in my spare time.
This is good. The talent I work with from 6BR. So you're doing this, and I'm going to get that up. And Skeeter on air, guaranteed that he'd be able to kick a score from. He says 20. It was 30 metres out. It was mimicking a player in the game, whatever game I called. It happened, and Skeet said live on air, like, I could score there. And I said, is that right? I said, you want to guarantee that? He's like, take me somewhere during the week, I'll do it.
I cannot wait.
I've got Skeeter kicking at the Oval.
I cannot
clipping
wait.
you up doing Creed.
Great,
I'm going to have your head. It's going to be brilliant.
All right,
Christian Rock, love it.
I look forward to that.
It is.
I don't even listen to that much Creed.
It's Christian Rock.
Sometimes you hear a sentence or a phrase or a saying, you're like, okay, would that work somewhere in a footy game? And you just try and.
Are you slightly impressed that I knew every word that?
I am. Yeah. I'm more pissed off that you didn't give me any acknowledgement during the game.
I feel like this is a segment.
It was.
What lyrics Paps going to say next week?
Yeah, try and drop it in. What do you want me to roll in? Just chuck it in the comments.
Can we? Great. Challenge
Not
accepted.
sure Fox will be happy with that.
Yeah, Paps will be like,
I'll have to straighten up again now.
Oh, got to keep it in within the lines.
Because it was a pretty important part of the game. And I was like,
what I mean.
Should I go for it? Should I not? I was like, I'll just do it.
I'm so lucky I didn't hear it, because I would have ruined the whole game. That would have been like a draw in the making. I'd be still like singing Creed in the back.
Giving away too many trade secrets of how I spend my pastimes.
All right, we're done.
We're done. Thanks to everyone. Become a patron, please. Support the podcast. Let us keep this circus going as long as we can. Scully, thank you very much.
Yeah, can you take me higher?
Drop some more Creed lyrics in somewhere, please. This has been the Footy Interchange Exchange.